How do we feel about reading some new release books? I actually feel pretty good about it, and I'm going to do that this week because I have a couple of pre-orders coming in. Well, one has arrived, another one will be released next week, and I also have an ARC from NetGalley. What arrived today? I ordered the Independent Bookshop signed version, Independent Bookshop's exclusive signed edition of Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Does this book need any introduction? Probably not, but I'll read the blurb off quickly for you. In the summer of 1980, astrophysics professor Joan Goodwin begins training to be an astronaut at Houston's Johnson Space Center alongside an exceptional group of fellow candidates. As the new astronauts prepare for their first flights, Joan finds a passion and a love she never imagined and begins to question everything she believes about her place in the observable universe. Then, in December of 1984, on mission STS LR9, everything changes in an instant. But more importantly, it's a signed edition. Apparently I've gone mad for those lately. It's also got sprayed edges. I know we have some fans and then some people who are not fans. I'm into it. I am going to pick up this book today, hopefully. And then for the rest of this vlog, I also want to read a book that's out on the 10th of June, which is V.E. Schwab's newest one, Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. And I also have an ARC for a really highly anticipated read that has been pushed back quite a bit. So it was due to be released in September, then got pushed to March, and now isn't going to be released until next month in July. So I was like, screw it, I'm going to NetGalley, see can I get it there? And get it I did. I'm talking about A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping by Sangu Mandanna, and I read The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches maybe last year, the year before I'd say, and loved it. That book was really cozy, and Magical Innkeeping seems to be in the same world but just with different characters, so I'm really looking forward to picking that up as well. So we're reading 3 new release books, beginning with Atmosphere. The better part of that is they're all written by female authors. I'm not functioning, but I want to talk to you about this book, right? Can somebody tell me what it is that Taylor Jenkins Reid laces her books with? And are we sure that it's not crack? Because I sat down to read this for just a little while and read about half of it in one sitting. I think the only reason I stopped reading was because I had to go to sleep, and I definitely would have stayed awake a lot longer had I not been needing matchsticks to keep my eyelids open. And before I delve back into this, I said I should update because I don't want to accidentally finish it and have not spoken about it. Anyway, so we are following a woman named Joan, and she is one of the first women who is training as an astronaut to go to space. She is a young woman in the 80s. She's living in Florida, and she is training with a few other women, but mostly other men, and it's all, as you would expect, quite misogynistic. And aren't these women great because they can do what the men do? And like, yeah, it's just a bit shite that way, but like it's obviously intentional by the author, and it's really quite interesting in that like there's one woman in the group and she keeps like laughing at these terribly misogynistic jokes, and Joan, our main character, is kind of like, I wish you would stop laughing because it makes it look like it's okay. That's quite forward thinking of our Joan back in the 80s. Lads, can you believe that the 80s are like 40 years ago? I was born in the late 80s, so that's kind of
scary. The story is sort of interspersed between the early 80s, I think 1980. This is when Joan is training, and then we know, judging by another timeline in 1984, that Joan has actually been to space and she has been successful, but so far I haven't seen that. It's interesting how it's done. So in 1984, Joan is in mission control. She is on comms with a mission that's actually in space at the moment, and we're sort of interspersing that with 1980 when she's training. So when she's training, there's like a really interesting group of people, and they all have their own different personalities, and we see how people from different walks of life sort of get together and work toward one thing while also kind of competing for one thing, particularly the women, because we all know they're not going to send all of the women on the first mission that the women are eligible for. So Joan is kind of getting to know these people in 1980, and then in 1984 some of these people are up in the air, up in space. Tell me, would you like to go to space? Because I sure as hell wouldn't. I think it would be like the most claustrophobic thing ever. And I think that being in a little shuttle in the most expansive thing that we could ever try to conceptualize, I just think it would not do me well. Also, I get really bad travel sickness sitting in the back of a car, so, you know. Yeah, that was a bit of a digression. So Joan is sort of helping to parent her niece as well. So her sister is a single parent, and we see her niece grow up with her, and how Joan sort of tries to help out there and does her best in the relationship she has with her niece. That's quite nice to read about as well. All of this feels very character driven, but yet it is flying. I don't know what it is about Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing. She somehow manages to have me read just huge chunks of her writing in really short amounts of time. There's a reason that this woman is such a popular author. Something very exciting happened because I made it happen. I bought a Switch 2 and I am thoroughly excited to play a lot of it. I have been a gamer for my whole life, but I didn't realise that I was a gamer because I thought that the games that I played meant that I wasn't a gamer, because I've always played cozy games. I've always loved The Sims. I've always loved like platformers. I never really liked the scary AAA games. I was really traumatised by Resident Evil 2 when I was about 8. I am going to play Tears of the Kingdom, the second sort of RPG Zelda game. I just haven't gotten around to Tears of the Kingdom, even though I have owned it for a really long time, so 'tis about time.
Hi, Alf. Hello, Alfie. Hello, Alfie. Who's a good boy? Who's a good boy?
I've read like another 60 pages today. I didn't even think that I read for that long, but apparently I did. There's something about this book that is very, very readable. So we're still following along with our characters, but things have kind of gotten a bit more interesting. This is a sapphic love story, which is really lovely. I knew that it was recommended as a book to read for Pride Month, but I wasn't really certain why. I now know, and the build up to that has been really lovely. So obviously we're set in the early 80s in America, so unfortunately the relationship is one that is sort of hidden and
has to be kept private, and isn't it horrible to have to hide who you are in any way at all? But that's going really well, and I have a feeling this book is going to break my heart somehow. The only real criticism that I have of this book is that it feels like the people training to become astronauts are just like going in, doing their job, and everything's kind of easy and fun and fine. And I would like to see a bit more of that process and just a bit more of the strain that these characters are under. It kind of makes it sound really fun and easy to some degree, but otherwise, like, I kind of don't really care either. That doesn't matter. But if I had to be nitpicky, this is so readable and so compulsive, and just, I don't know what Taylor Jenkins Reid puts into her books, but I devour it, whatever it is. I have just over 100 pages left to read. I reckon less than 2 hours reading and I'll have this book knocked out and finished by this evening. Called it. That was a really good book. 4 stars in the end, 4 very well-deserved stars. What was really great about this book is that, yeah, it's a book about space and going to space. That's all very exciting and all, but it's a book that's primarily about the people, and it kind of did what I expected, but also really subverted my expectations, and I am really glad to have read it. I thought it was such a good book. It kind of reminded me in a way of Great Circle by Maggie Shipstead, in the way that it like makes flying seem like something completely ridiculous but brilliant. Of course it is, but it's something that we take for granted so much. And obviously they're not just flying in this, they're literally going to space. There's also some really good talk about science and God and how the two intermingle or don't with each other. There's some lovely lyrical writing in here. There's a really lovely storyline to do with family and the expectations that we have and that we put upon ourselves, and then the expectations that are put upon women, and then how people decide whether other people can be happy depending on what they think is acceptable themselves, which is just ridiculous. But yeah, it was a really great read, and I'm very happy to give it a good 4 stars. Good morning. It is Wednesday morning, and you would think that by now I would have done loads of reading, but actually my life has been upended a little bit this week, and there hasn't been quite as much reading done as you might expect. I'll show you why. This is Darlene, and we adopted her a few days ago, didn't we, pet? And she is the sleepiest little girl I've ever met. I can't stop looking at her. I'm so happy. And she's lovely. But obviously it's a bit of an adjustment, and I don't have as much free time as I did. But she's really good. She's so well behaved. She's quite nervous. She comes from a rescue, so we don't really know her background, but there are some scars on her body. So wherever she came from, she wasn't treated the best, but she landed in the right place now. So we're just going to have a nice day together, chilling, and we've already been for our walk. I'm going to read some today because we have some time to just chill out and relax and nap on the couch, apparently.
Bring me back to that day. I had all of this waiting ahead. It kills to be halfway alive since I had.
This week has massively gotten away from me. I haven't even done that much reading, but I actually have finished A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, and I haven't updated at all. I enjoyed it, I will say. It's a book about Sarah Swan, and she is a witch who loses her powers because she casts a spell to resurrect her great aunt when she's 15, and the book is mostly set 15 years later. It's very much a cozy book in an inn that's kind of a magical mix between The Inn in Gilmore Girls and maybe Howl's Moving Castle. It's really cozy, it's really whimsical, it's really nice. It's exactly kind of what I expected it would be. It has stakes, it has a plot, it has a romance, but everything is quite low stakes in general. Everything's quite easy breezy. There's nothing too stressful or strenuous. And I will say, when I was reading it, I think that maybe I wasn't quite in the mood for a book like that. But all the same, I did get through it and I did enjoy it for the most part. I think I would give it probably about 3.5 stars. I think personally, I probably enjoyed The Very Secret Society of a Regular, which is a bit more, but that could be a case of like right book, right time, and then this one right book, wrong time. So I don't necessarily think that one is better than the other. Also, if you're wondering, you could definitely read the Magical Innkeeping one over Very Secret Society. First, there's no real correlation between the two stories. They're kind of set in the same world, but they're not at all like consecutive. They're not dependent on each other. You could read either or both of them in any order that you wanted. So it's definitely one of those lovely kind of whimsical, cozy books. At times I felt like maybe this could be read by somebody who's quite a bit younger, but then there is some swearing and some spicy scenes as well, so maybe not. It's a funny mix, because sometimes I think it reads quite young and then other times it doesn't. But I think maybe cozy fantasy does have a habit of doing that. It all seems a bit silly and whimsical. It's very much a book that is worth reading if that's the kind of book that you're after. I would suggest reading it somewhere between like October through December, because there is like snow in this book and it is cozy that way. Think like cozy fire inside a really nice, warm, lovely inn, snow sprinkled outside, that kind of thing. It definitely brings all of the cozy mood. I'll give it that. I did really enjoy it. Like, it's not a new favourite, but it's definitely a book that I hope does really well, and I hope that people read. It seems like coziness is still having a bit of a moment. I will mention as well, it has like a lot of really great representation as well that doesn't feel like tokenism. It definitely has tropes of found family, and there are elements in here of, you know, talk about race and talk about misogyny. There's neurodivergent representation, there is non-binary representation, there's queer representation, and it all feels quite natural. It doesn't feel forced, which is lovely. I hate when these things just feel like they're shoved in there. They're just there. You kind of wouldn't even really notice some aspects. I'm going to see if I can get some solid reading in on Bury Our Bones, because so far I have read it very slowly. Yeah, I'm about, I think, 100 or so pages in, 95 pages in. So far so good. I've read, I think, from two perspectives. So one in like, I think the 1500s, and then a more contemporary perspective. So two different young women, and I'm really enjoying the historical one, and I feel like I'm only really getting started with the more contemporary one, but there's something really sort of gothic and historical that I love in books that is to be found in this book. So far I have been really enjoying it. V.E. Schwab's writing is really lush and really engaging, and I think that this is probably the book of hers that I am enjoying most of all the ones that I've read so far. I haven't read many now, in fairness, but it does feel like it could be a very, very good read. I'm not even 20% of the way through. It is a bit of a chunk, so we have a bit to go. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to chill in the sitting room. We're going to turn on some cozy music or some atmospheric stuff on YouTube, and I'm going to get down to reading my book.
Hello, Snoot.
I know that a lot of people really love the summer, but I absolutely do not. I hate the heat, and it is 25 degrees outside today, and honestly that is just none of my business.
I am about 300 pages through my book, So Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. So far, so good. I will say I'm really enjoying that kind of lush gothic writing we've got going on. It took like over half the book to get to one of the perspectives in the blurb, but now everything is kind of coming together and I see what's happening. I did feel a little bit like, oh, I don't know if this book will sustain like 530 pages, because it felt like there wasn't really much of a string of a plot. Like it was a series of kind of different stories that are just kind of pushed together, and it felt like there was almost not much happening. But now I'm kind of really getting into it, and it is definitely very vampire-y. It's sort of giving me that whole feeling that I got when I read the Anne Rice book, Interview with the Vampire. My brain completely went splat there. And I don't really know how to explain that, but it just feels really richly written. I definitely prefer some perspectives to others. It's a little bit gruesome. It's a little bit gross. We have vampires drinking blood and all that. But I really like what B. Schwab did with sort of subverting our expectations of some aspects of what a vampire is. And it's definitely a trope like vampirism that's been done and done and done. And I like how she's taken the base idea of what a vampire is and sort of taken a little bit of creative freedom with it, which is really great. I am hopeful that I will read it and finish it today. I have about 200 pages left, but I think it's very manageable. It's 11:44 a.m. and I have mostly got the day to myself, apart from bringing the dog for one more walk this evening. Otherwise, it's me and V.E. Schwab, so let's get going. It's still stupid hot out. I'm still inside hiding from the weather. But I did finish my book and ultimately I enjoyed it. So I would say that this book is kind of reminiscent for me of Addie LaRue. There is a lot in here about time. We cover a lot of time, and we cover then a lot of space and places, and there's a lot of like feeling unrooted and having to move around, which was also very much a part of Addie LaRue. I didn't love Addie LaRue as much as I expected to, and I think this book is something similar. I loved the sapphic, toxic vampires. I loved the longing. I loved the yearning. The writing was really incredible. But for me, I feel like this book was missing something. And I can't quite put my hands on what that was. I think the plot was a little bit light for me in many ways. I think there was almost too much time. It was a book for me that kind of suffered from never really feeling too rooted or too grounded in a certain place or a certain time. I really loved the historical aspects, and I think I didn't enjoy the contemporary moments as much. And the ending for me wasn't very strong, I don't think. I didn't find it very satisfying. That said, I think that will just be a personal opinion. I think a lot of people will really enjoy it. I thought maybe it was a little bit too fast, even though I've just said that maybe it felt a little bit slow at times. I don't know. I did really enjoy it though, in spite of all of that, and I gave it 4 stars, and I think it's definitely another book that is worth picking up. So overall in this vlog, I actually feel like I've done pretty well. So Atmosphere, I ended up giving 4 stars. I really enjoyed that. It did have its kind of plot holes a little bit. It was a little bit dramatic at points, but I did really love it and gave it 4 stars, as I've mentioned. And then A Witch's Guide to Magical Innkeeping, which is out in July. I give that 3.5 stars. I think that if I had been more in the mood for something cozy, I would have probably given it 4 stars. I really did enjoy it though. And then of course Bury Our Bones, I gave 4 stars and really enjoyed the reading experience with that as well. So as somebody who reads quite a lot of backlist books, I think I've been doing quite well with the new releases I've been choosing lately. So let me know if you have read any of these books or what you thought of them, or if you're looking forward to them. Let me know also if you have read any new releases lately yourself that you really enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you want to see more from me. And otherwise, pals, thanks for spending your time with me, and I'll chat to you next week in another video. Bye bye.